Hey guys, Robin here, and welcome to another movie review. Yeah, it's been a really long time since I did one of these, but boy, have I got a doozy of a film for you today. Now, we all remember the hit 90s comedy The Mask, and yeah, it was a very big success. It launched Jim Carrey. It made Jim Carrey one of the hottest movie stars of the time. And its CGI effects still hold up today, and it's one of my favorite movies of all time. But as many of you may know, 11 years later, The Mask got a sequel that went over as well. That went over as well as wearing a Nazi officer outfit to a synagogue. Son of the Mask. Now, this movie, it was one of the biggest disasters of the 2000s. It bombed at the box office. It has a 6% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 2.2 and a 2.2 out of 10 on IMDb. Yeah. Now, this movie stars Alan Cumming and Jamie Kennedy. And, oh God. And, this movie has been said to be one of the worst sequels and one of the worst movies of all time. But I loved this movie when I was a kid. We had the DVD. I watched it pretty much every day, and I loved it. And so did my sister as well. In fact, this movie was we both loved this movie. And oh boy. And now I I watched this movie again recently, and I had not seen it since 2007 at the most recent. And yeah, and I recently become fascinated with collecting movies from 2005 on VHS. And and I've also made it somewhat of a and I've also made it somewhat of a habit to collect movies that are considered to be the worst movies ever made. Because in addition to Son of the Mask and Plan 9 from Outer Space, which I just showed you, I also have Reefer Madness, the Star Wars Holiday Special, which, and before you post comment, no, this is not, and before you post a comment, despite the appearance of this cassette, this is not an authentic, like, print from CBS Fox. This is a very well done bootleg, which becomes immediately apparent when I let the case fall out. Yeah. And, and, Freddy Got Fingered, Battlefield Earth, Superman 4, which I also kind of like, Batman and Robin, and Monos the Hands of Fate. But back to Son of the Mask. Now there are moments of this movie that I did kind of cringe at, but that's mainly that's mainly be, but mainly because I was a rather autistic and random kid who just spouted off one quote. But yeah, so yeah, so oh God. So now Jamie Kennedy is a good actor, but his voice has like a slight whine to it whenever he talks, And despite this movie being rated PG and aimed towards children, there's quite a handful of inappropriate stuff in this movie. Like for example, Jamie Kennedy getting drenched in piss. Yes, that actually happens. Um, Loki Alan Cumming plays Loki, not to be confused with the MCU Loki played by Tom Hiddleston. He turns someone's entire head into a giant nose, and when they sneeze, we see white mucus on the ground, which doesn't look like mucus. Instead, it resembles another sticky bodily fluid that's also white. Yeah, and at one point, Loki even makes himself look like Kennedy's character's wife, and when he and when he and this like freaks him the hell out, and when his wife actually does come home, he tackles her and he starts like strangling her because he thinks it's Loki because he's gone crazy. But so yeah, a family picture. But anyway, yeah, and yeah, there's a lot of like scary imagery in this movie, but I mean, yeah, I still kind of like the film, even yeah. So I mean, shit, like I have all of these. Yeah, I mean, crap. I like this, and this. So I practically have zero taste in movies. But anyways, now this movie does now aside from Jamie Kennedy and Alan Cumming, this movie also has in its cast Kal Penn, best known as Kumar from the Harold and Kumar movies, and the late but great Bob Hoskins as Odin. Although I'm not really sure why they cast Bob Hoskins because he's so covered in makeup and so much like After Effects is added to his voice to make it all boomy. And also some of the and by the way, speaking of Odin, some of the transitions into him are like very sudden and out of nowhere. Like Jamie Kennedy will be petting his dog Otis, a Jack Russell Terrier like the one in the first movie. Um, and then we see Milo standing on his chest, and then all of a sudden the camera zooms in into Odin's eye, into the dog's eye. And similarly, when Jamie first meets Alvy Avery, another transition to Loki happens when we zoom into the baby's mouth, which is really odd. Now, I mean, honestly, I can't. Yeah, and now this now recently on his podcast, Jamie Kennedy has been going like into detail as to how he became involved with Son of the Mask. Like part one is how he got the role. Part two is like them making the film. Um, and according to him, New Line Cinema had so much faith in this movie that they had two more sequels as well as a prequel planned. And when Son but since Son of the Mask went down as well as the Hindenburg, that never happened. In fact, Son of the Mask ruined the masks, not the movie, the actual like franchise itself, because Mask was actually based on a very violent and gory comic book that that they didn't do anything with the Mask character until 2014, almost a full decade after this movie came out. And Now, I don't know. I mean, maybe if I watch this with my sister, like later, I'll be like, oh god. But for what it's worth, I actually really like this movie. I mean, granted, some of the CGI hadn't aged well. In fact, I remember like the animation of the dog planning how to kill the baby, which, by the way, a family picture. And and the part where the dog ends up being the victim of his own trap is kind of funny. But I still really enjoy it. Um, yeah, and I'm just, I still really like I can't really like I honestly don't get like why people hate this movie. Yeah, I can understand I can understand like no Jim Carrey, no Cameron Diaz. They couldn't get Richard Jenny to come back as he passed away in 2001. And the only cast member to return from the first movie is Ben Stein. Yeah, the Bueller guy from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Yeah. But but me personally, I was able to look past that. I think Jamie Kennedy did an okay job. I found him entertaining. But one problem with this movie is it's not very original because this one scene where the baby's watching this cartoon called One Froggy Evening, which, if you're not familiar, is about a guy that encounters a frog that's able to sing and dance, but every single time he tries to show someone the frog dancing, like the frog it just finishes its act, and instead of singing and dancing for the other person, it just sits there wearing a top hat while croaking. And so it shows this cartoon almost in its entirety, and then proceeds to blatantly copy it with the baby singing and dancing the Michigan rag. And Tim eventually shows the baby to a neighbor, but the baby stops singing right before the neighbor opens the door. Which, by the way, I didn't really care. It's a and which I didn't really give a crap about that. Movie got a movie. There's also like one question. Also, Alan Cumming basically finds out a baby's been born with a mask, so he prints out like apparently he prints out a list of babies that were born on that day, and he basically assumes various aliases such as a vacuum cleaner salesman, which, by the way, I want the friggin' vacuum he shows off, which sucks a maid into the bag part of it. He at one point he's also a plumber who apparently super glues a plunger to a guy's face. At one point, he's a very frightening ginger cookie sales girl. And and when he finally gets around to Jamie Kennedy's place, he pretends to be a male guy named Rod. And and he's back in his car, which, by the way, is a really cool black and green '66 Mustang 429. And he's like, shit, that's not him either. And then he sees Tim getting into his own car, a '69 Plymouth Roadrunner, which, by the way, is named after the Warner Brothers character. Plymouth actually got Warner Brothers got permission from Chrysler to use the name and the Roadrunner look and the Roadrunner character, and and the baby just proves that he's the son of the mask, and Loki is under heavy pressure from Odin to find the mask, and Tim speeds off, and instead of Loki going into the house while Jamie's not home to look for the mask, he follows him and just demands it, which is, yeah, it's kind of stupid, but like I said, movie's got a movie. And now Alan Cumming is the closest thing to Jim Carrey in this movie. Like he's constantly like he actually makes Tom Hiddleston's performance as Loki look restrained. Now I do feel that the climax kind of wraps up things a bit quick. like Odin and Loki really don't like each other, yet the conflict is resolved when Jamie Kennedy saying 4 sentences. Like, okay, that's all it took. And basically, I still really like this movie. As for a recommendation, I mean, if you love this movie as a kid, like I did, you might like it now. But honestly, I can't even really give a recommendation because honestly, if you're curious about it, go right ahead. If you want to watch a bad movie and get high and drunk and just riff on it, then go right ahead. If you want to cringe so hard, if you want to cringe so hard, you'll end up having to wear a neck brace for a month, then honestly, I don't know. Just watch the first movie, then watch the trailer to this, and then go from there, I guess. So, me personally, I love this movie as a kid. I still love it now. And if I ever meet Jamie Kennedy or Alan Cumming, I may have to get them to sign this. So yeah, that concludes my review of my childhood favorite, Son of the Mask. So yeah, so yeah, if what I've had to say intrigues you, go ahead and watch it, or don't. So thank you all for watching this review. So thank you all for watching. I'll see you all soon in the near future. So thank you all for watching. I'll see you all soon in the near future. Peace.